Welcome to Wealth Made Simple with Shaz, where you'll learn how to master your money through business, property, and tax-saving strategies. Your host has collectively helped his clients make tens of millions of pounds in additional profits through these strategic approaches to business. Introducing Shaz Nawaz, an award-winning chartered accountant, property tax expert, entrepreneur, and property investor.
This week on Wealth Made Simple, we're going to talk about quite a few different concepts, and you've got some really interesting things lined up for us. But we're talking about building intergenerational wealth, which I think is extremely important, isn't it, Kieran?
I think it is, and I think a lot of people, and this is something that I found really fascinating, but a lot of people jump to the conclusion, intergenerational wealth, generational wealth, passing down wealth. Oh, that's for rich people. I don't need to worry about that. And they instantly switch off, right? But I'm going to share some facts and figures with you that I found, and they are absolutely terrifying.
So you're going to scare us?
Yep.
Well, scare me at least anyway.
And this is just to highlight that it doesn't matter what wealth level you're at, you should always be thinking about intergenerational wealth.
The concept of passing on wealth is all well and good and alive in their mind. This maybe don't always think it through because it's not a natural conversation.
Yeah.
So if you talk to most people about their parents, for example, unless if the parents are elderly, they don't have to be with the elderly, okay? So let's say we're talking to Lisa, who's 50 years old, and her parents are, let's say, 80. And say, so Lisa, we're planning this business for you. Okay, and we're looking at exit planning for you. And we're also looking at working capital and how much income's coming in and how much you may inherit. And she'll say, well, I know my parents have got some cash in the bank, and I know they've got some shares in ETFs, and they've invested some money in cryptocurrency, possibly, depending on how interested they are. And they speak to their IFA regularly, and they've got 3 properties. But I don't know what they're doing with them. Yeah. And I don't really want to talk to them about it either. Yeah. You know, it's an awkward conversation, isn't it? And it shouldn't be, should it? But the way that our society's built up, we don't want to talk about that stuff. And yet it's so important.
And this actively reinforces the point I'm about to make, is that if you don't talk about it, do you know what's going to happen?
People are going to pay a lot of tax.
Well, you're going to pay a lot of tax.
It would be my natural answer.
But also, how much is going to get missed? Now, statistically, currently, in the UK banking economy, between pensions, shares, wealth and investments, banks and building societies, life insurance, trust funds, NS&I premium bond prizes, if you add all of that together, there's an estimated £50 billion of lost money.
Wow. Ginormous, isn't it?
That's a huge sum. Absolutely huge. Let's just take, buildings and bank accounts, for example, in lost money, 4.5 billion estimated.
So this is people who actually own that money, or it's their money, and they just forget about it?
Well, they forget about it, or it's been passed on to trustees or to children, that children didn't know about that bank account, so they don't know to go searching for it. So it would be legacy money, but they don't have access to it because the parent has passed away and the child didn't know about all the bank accounts or all the investments or anything. So by not having that conversation, as you were saying earlier, by feeling like you can't have that conversation, it has cost the nation £50 billion.
A lot of money and a lot of notes.
Yeah. So, and this is what I'm saying. Even if you're, don't consider yourself to be wealthy, it's worth having that conversation because, having everything that is yours passed on to you legally, rightfully, honestly, is important. And having that money sit there doing nothing, it's working for the bank. It's working for someone that's not you. And it's not their money.
And I think the conversation really to help anybody isn't around mum and dad, what are you going to leave me, especially if you've got more than one child? Okay?
No, of course not.
It's about you've worked really hard and you want to leave it to whoever you want to leave it to. Let's help you explore to make sure it's tax efficient.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't want it all to go to the taxman. And as you know, I've got no problem in neither of you paying the right amount of tax.
Yep. No.
But if you can structure your affairs in a way where you pay less tax in the right way, using all the different reliefs, allowances, and exemptions, well, that's what the government allows you to do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the super wealthy do. They pay people like yourself to structure their tax affairs in such a way that they pay the right amount of tax for them, but because they have access to information, knowledge is power. They have access to more information because they can afford to pay for more information. They can afford to pay the experts. And then the experts go, yes, but did you know if you do this, 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 and this, the tax rules actually clearly state this, this, and this. So you could be paying 20% less tax. I mean, that's a good deal to me.
Being proactive.
Yeah, being proactive.
So we want people listening to this particular episode for none of their money to be part of that 50 billion.
Yeah.
And if for some it is, you better go hunting and try and find it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, that's a big task, isn't it?
It's a very, very
because you're shooting in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't know if you've got generational wealth that belongs to you. You don't know.
You've never had that conversation, so.
Because you never had that
as
conversation.
awkward as it is, be open to having that conversation.
Yeah.
And try and get your parents or your grandparents to be open to having that conversation as well, because it's in everybody's benefit.
Yeah, and that leads us nicely on to the first point about intergenerational wealth and how to start generating intergenerational wealth is having the right financial mindset and the financial education to understand how this is going to work and do some research into it. You know, there is more information on YouTube and Google than can be taught in universities. And okay, you've got to do your due diligence, make sure you're getting the right information, go and speak to, qualified professionals when but these places will, unlike, they're not regulated by any authority to give that info.
But you can check, can't you?
But they can give you a general idea.
Yeah, generally speaking, and again, this is very general, if you go onto a particular website that's promoting tax advice and you see that chartered accountants or chartered tax advisors, so on and so forth, that should give you a bit of confidence, and then you can research them and then look at 2 or 3 others, by the way, and see if the advice correlates. And they don't all agree on everything, but you can, you can make it out.
Yeah.
Same with law firms, same with investment firms, and you can then weigh up your options. But if you've got Joe Blogs, okay, or John Smith, okay, who has written an article, and you go on their website and they just write articles, that doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing, but if they're not regulated or they haven't got any professional qualifications and their advice doesn't match with 1 or 2 of the websites that you read on the first page of Google, for example, that's enough in terms of alarm bells ringing. And that's that's not conclusive, by the way, in any way. So I don't want anybody to do just that and then say, oh, Shaz and Kieran said you'd be fine. But that gives you enough information to say, okay, I know which path I'm taking now. Let's research further and talk to people and make sure this is correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll allow you.
And that's free stuff, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say you start there, because fundamentally, ultimately, at some point in legacy planning, there is going to be a cost involved. There's no getting around that. You are going to have to pay. If you want to get proper trust set up, that has a cost associated with it. If you've got any of the implements to pass on wealth has a cost associated.
Yeah, right.
To it.
So because whoever you're talking to has spent anywhere from, let's say, 5 years to 35, 40 years. Some even more, by the way. Because as you know, I work with some people who've got 50 years experience.
Yeah. Okay,
and they're 70 odd years old, but they still enjoy working and they work part time and they only work for people they want to work for. That and to buy, and I use that word loosely, to have available to you somebody's got a service of 50 years experience. That comes at a price.
Yeah, and so it should.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't work for free.
Nobody does.
You don't work for free.
Yeah.
So when I'm asking for someone for professional advice, it's wrong to expect them to give advice for free.
And it's a fraction of what you're going to save and make at
Yes.
some point in the future, depending on where you are in your life cycle of business or intergenerational wealth.
Yeah, exactly that.
But
so,
if
yeah.
somebody says, okay, you talk about financial education and mindset, how do I financially educate myself and how do I have the right mindset?
First and foremost, read. That would be
Or consume, because some people may enjoy
Yeah.
watching because they're
Yeah.
visual learners.
that would be your starting block. And don't be arrogant. Understand that
Every day is a school day.
Every day is a school day. You don't know everything. So, be open to learning. Be open to change. Is there anything else you would do?
I would consume the content that you're talking about, whether it's on it's written,
Yep.
audio, visual.
Yeah.
Go to seminars, talk to people, and then I'd understand the difference between income, entrepreneurship, investments, assets, good assets, not so good assets, and then think about risk management, risk allocation, my attitude towards risk, return on investment, and then look at how much capital I need. Somebody might think, well, we're talking about good assets, bad assets. Good assets appreciate in value, bad assets depreciate in value, i.e. having a car. So this is a conversation I have regularly with people.
Yeah.
Okay, when I say lease a car, as you know, on the weekend I ran another course, and I say another because it was in the next one, and someone said, my husband usually buys a car. He watched one of your YouTube videos and he got a car on a lease.
I know which video he watched.
He didn't, by the way, he didn't. And I'll tell you why. And she said, after 6 months or 12 months, he paid it off.
Oh, that's not a lease.
And I said, that's not a lease.
That's PCP.
What he's done is PCP or most likely a higher purchase.
Yeah.
So he thought, I'm paying it every month. So I said, that car, when it lost value, I mean, I know cars went up for a little while during COVID, and they're coming down now, but when that car was losing value, he was paying for that, but he's going to realize that loss when he sells it. A lease is where you use an item, at the end you give it back, and there's a pre-agreed value in terms of, or amount in terms of how many months you're going to have it for, and how many miles you're going to drive in terms of a car. I said, they're very different. And she didn't quite grasp that. But I said, let's run some numbers. So we looked at the car she wants, the value of the car, and how much it would be worth in 2 years based on the numbers she knew and the participants in the room. And the depreciation on that car over 2 years, Kieran, was about 25 grand.
Yeah.
And the lease costs over 2 years were about 11 grand. So you're better off by 13 grand. And whether you're paying for that car cash or monthly payments, if you're paying cash, for example, some people do, I said, invest that 24 grand, if you've got it, into something else and try and get a return of some sort, and that will pay towards some of the car, if not all the car.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've got all the other costs associated with having the car, which you don't always have to pay because it's a brand new leased car, i.e. road tax, for example.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, whether you've got to pay it or not, depending on the car you have. That's all sorted. Less wear and tear, less other costs.
Well,
your insurance might be slightly high depending on which car you have.
As you know, I lease my cars.
I know you do, so do I. But it makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Even if you're an employee, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh, it really does.
Unless you're not into cars at all and you say, I want an old car. But just that one thing, if you add up the numbers, you're looking at quite a few £1,000s every year. Bank that. If you add all of those, there's 10, 15 grand you can find. So and again, we're getting off topic here, but I'll bring it back quickly. So I used to run a seminar where I used to share with people how they could make £2 million, it's £2.2 million, over their lifetime of 25 years, which isn't a lifetime per se, but I kept it simple. Yeah. And my challenge to the room was, if I can't help you make and save at least 50 grand, very small number, at the end, then I haven't done my job properly. I'll stay here at the end of the seminar, The rest of you can go home and I'll sit with you and we'll find you 50 grand. I did that for years, Kieran. Never had one person at the end because everybody used to stand up. The first question was, stand up. If you got less than, if you're 50 grand or less, sit down. No one should sit down. Because when you show them these are the things you can do, what do you think your number is going to be based on that? Because they know the situation better than anybody else. There come up with some good numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they haven't thought about those things.
But when you've got those numbers, how do you pass them on to your children?
By educating them and sharing with them. And so financial education, obviously, and the mindset comes when you educate yourself. Because when you know what you need to do, then you feel compelled and you have a internal conversation responsibility to do the right thing, because now you know the difference between right and wrong in terms of not right and wrong per se, but in terms of the right investments and what's best for you and your future.
I think right and wrong is accurate because there are right things to do with your money and wrong things to do with your money. And some things will cost you money, some things will make you money.
And there needs to be balance.
And there needs to be a balance. Yeah.
That's the first one that you've shared. I think the second one is to have a very clear, and people struggle with clarity, some people struggle with clarity, strategic investment planning. And most people aren't aware of this, but this is where you go and talk to people who are qualified in finance. So this is where you're thinking about, okay, am I low risk, high risk? What capital do I have? Over how many years do I want to make the investment? Do I want to buy assets? Do I want to buy property? Do I want to buy government bonds, gilts, property, crypto,
stocks
ETFs,
and shares.
stocks and shares? Okay, high yield, low yield, medium yield, mixed bag. By the way, I would recommend, as always, you and I don't offer investment advice because we're not qualified to do so. So we're just sharing information. Obviously, go and speak to a person who's authorized to give you advice on making investments. Do you want some long-term, medium-term, short-term investments? Those kind of conversations, and then they'll help you to do the planning, run some numbers over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years and longer if you want, and show you what the future may look like. No one can guarantee that's going to happen, but it'll give you a good indication of what's going to happen, and then make those investments. Whether you want to invest in the stock market, in property, or have a mixed bag. I mean, as you know, you and I are both fans of property, but that's just a personal choice.
Personal preference.
For somebody yesterday might say, I'm not interested in that. I'll do stocks and shares, crypto, gold, silver, other commodities. Okay, or you know what? I've got 100 grand in my bank, and I want to find people I can loan the money to, whether it's peer-to-peer lending online, or find some individuals who are doing some projects that I quite like,
venture with them
and I'll invest in. This isn't just about charging interest, by the way, because some people don't want to charge interest. Is joint venture and have a share of the pie.
Of the pie, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And if you've got 100 grand, good number to aim towards. Say, let's get to that.
Yeah.
And let's do some investments.
And I mean, grand scheme of things, 100 grand for some people is a huge amount of money. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
And people need to, and if you only ever have a job, you're probably never going to achieve that. Just doing a job, it's like playing Monopoly and never buying a house. You go past go, collect 200, go past go, collect 200.
You're going to lose.
You're going to lose.
I know that from bad experience.
And so that's just something to be aware of. But when you're going down that road, and I do truly believe that everybody has a business inside them, whether it's their knowledge, information, whether it's a skill set,
passion,
whether it's a passion project, but there is something within them that they can make money from. And having that, even if you do it of an evening, 4 nights a week, or just of an evening, 1 night a week, and just start up slowly. Start your own business. Be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to cost you much money. It doesn't have to take you much time. But it does have to start with you, because at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, puts you in the driving seat.
I was told by one of my mentors, Peter, and he said, "Why would you want to be a piece, a jigsaw piece in a puzzle, when you can own the entire puzzle?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Why do you want to be a character in somebody else's story when you can be the hero in your own story.
Yeah, I like that one.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you're right. Just create your own story.
But once
What do you want it to be?
Yeah, what do you want to? But once
And that changed my mind about, not changed, but that got me thinking about, there's a different way here.
But once you've got your own business, whether it, and it can be as simple as having, finding something that you're passionate about and making YouTube videos about it and gaining a following on YouTube. Look at some of the wealth generation that has come from platforms like YouTube. Yeah, it's completely possible.
An opportunity, yeah, you're right.
Opportunity, yeah. There are 5-year-olds out there opening toys on YouTube that are making money. So, find your passion, explore your passion on video, put it into a medium that other people can consume, and keep getting better at it. It sounds simple, and it is. It's not easy, but it is simple. But once you've got that business, then that's recurring cash flow. That's when you can go, and as we've discussed many times on Wealth Made Simple, make it process driven, make it, look into
systematic,
systematic. Then you've got something to pass on by way of legacy to the
not
next
just
generation.
in terms of the actual assets and the cash, but you can pass on the process.
Exactly.
And that's got more value than the actual cash and the wealth and the assets.
Yeah. And so now you're passing on not just your wealth, but your business to the next generation, or even include them in your business
as they grow and develop. Yeah,
as they grow and develop.
If they're interested, yeah.
So there are multiple options for intergenerational wealth building down the.
And that takes us nicely to the third part, or the third tip.
Yep, which is estate planning and trusts. Yeah, and I think you know this subject far better than I do. On estate planning and trusts, which
before we look at that, what about just talking a bit more, I guess, on business and entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship. Again, you are more qualified than I am. You have held more businesses than I have. I mean, how did you first get into your own business?
I always wanted to have a business, and
Yeah.
I always share this with people. People laugh, and sometimes I think they don't fully grasp the point. So, back in the day, okay, and you were probably part of this as well. And so I'm not going to say you're too young to remember,
Probably
I
not.
think you might be, because at secondary school, do you remember you used to have careers teachers?
Yes.
And you see, you're not that young, and
No, I'm not.
careers used to come, and one person over here, I want to be a GP. What the hell is a GP? Because I never knew what a GP was. Yeah. It's a general practitioner, a doctor. Okay. Over here, somebody said, I want to be a lawyer or a solicitor.
Why is what doctors do called practice?
Sorry. Because they're practicing on you, yeah, until they get perfect. And then the next one is, I want to be an accountant, so on and so forth, dentist. And when they just kind of get around to me, I want to be a business owner. And the first time I ever said that, the chap who was the careers teacher said, "Oh, does your dad own a corner shop?"
Oh, that was he was a product of his time, wasn't he?
No, he doesn't. But why are you assuming that I want to start a corner shop? I want to have a different type of business. So it was always in me, Kieran. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always wanted to do that because of having looked around, I could see that business seemed like fun to me. Just the way people were dressed and they were talking. We looking on documentaries on TV, because we only had a few channels looking at
4 channels,
movies, exactly that type of stuff. Okay, it just excited me. Okay, coming from a deprived background and upbringing, which is good because that strengthened my mind and my
gives you that thirst,
resolve and the thirst and to do something. It just appealed to me, and this stayed with me since, I'd say, a teenager, if not earlier. And I think that is extremely important, because you become the master of your own destiny. And you learn so much. Because I think about this a lot, by the way. As in, would I have learned all this if I was working for somebody?
No.
And the answer is no. I wouldn't have been interested.
No.
And I'll tell you simply why. Because, and this isn't a slight on anybody else, but if I'm talking to somebody, did you read books? The majority of people say, oh, I do. What did you read? Crime, fiction, thriller. Good, by the way. But not many people who are employed, and I can't talk about everybody, by the way, just not many people who are employed are reading books on entrepreneurship or business unless they're interested in it.
They read for entertainment, not for education.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously, just reading books for entertainment gives you education, because if the more you read, the better you write.
Yep.
Okay, so it helps them in that sense, which is also education. But educating yourself on particular concepts and principles, not so much, especially if you're looking for a particular concept. And even though there are many life lessons in reading fiction and books for entertainment. And I wouldn't have done that, Kieran.
No.
To answer your earlier question about entrepreneurship. And then alongside that, then you think, okay, well, I'm not that good a speaker. I'm terrified of speaking, for example. Let me learn to speak. Okay, I'm not good at telling stories. Let me learn that. I'm not really good at writing stuff. Let me learn how to do that. I'm not good at sales, marketing, finance, operations, team management, so on, so forth. The list can go on.
Oh.
And then once you raise your awareness to that, or somebody else does, you would look at that. Now you're delving into learning that. And so the skills that you have as a business owner or entrepreneur, right, are vast once you apply yourself.
Yes.
That's the big difference between those who are successful and those who aren't. Because in business and entrepreneurship, what I find is the ones who are technically competent, talk about doctor, dentist, accountant, lawyer, whoever you like.
Yep.
Okay? Technically competent aren't the ones who are the most successful.
No.
The ones who are most successful, Kieran, are the ones who understand entrepreneurship, understand sales and marketing.
Yes.
Because they understand, I'm in the business of marketing this particular service, not just doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I work in sales, you know that, and if people listening don't, then, I do work in sales. And fundamentally, it doesn't matter where you go or what you do or how you do it or who you do it with or who you work for, whether it's yourself, whether it's someone else. Everything you do is a sell.
You're always selling yourself.
Because you go for an interview, you've got to sell your skills and why they should hire you. You sell a product that speaks for itself. You're doing, say, there are people out there, I don't like dealing with people. I don't have to sell because I'm not the customer facing end of the business. Really? You don't think you have to sell? I mean, I appreciate that you don't think that, but trust me, you do, because your skill set is part of the business workings, which is selling the service. Because every business is a business because it has something to sell, whether that is selling information,
you don't have a business,
knowledge, whether it's whether you are helping other people. Doesn't matter what you do, you are selling and marketing yourself.
And the good business owners and entrepreneurs talk about how can we better market this, how can we be more efficient. The not so good business owners or entrepreneurs talk about how can I become more technically competent, how can I be a better dentist, how can I be a better accountant,
how can I charge more?
And they don't even talk about that.
A lot of them don't,
because I've been around places and seminars and events. I'm a seminar junkie. Not so much nowadays, but I used to do a lot, as you know, when you go to the States.
Yes.
And they're not even talking about charging a lot. And the ones that when you talk to them, you soon find out who's, especially if I'm talking to an accountant, a tax person, I'll quicker than a non-accountant, establish which one's more capable and competent. And then you compare what they're making and what they're charging. The one who's not as competent is making and charging more because as a business,
he understands marketing better.
He or she understands that better and how business works. So, I mean, and if you're, let's say, 80% competent at being whatever you are, let's say you're an accountant, okay? And if you become 90% competent, that ain't going to change your business.
No.
But if you become 10 percentage points more competent in marketing,
that will change your business.
That's going to have an impact on your business.
Yep.
Okay. So sometimes people need to focus on what's really important. But I think entrepreneurship and business ownership changes your life, the life of people around you, your employees, your clients, your customers, your community, society. You can make a huge impact, okay, that you can't as an employee. And your outlook on life is different.
But when you become a business entrepreneur or a businessman / entrepreneur, business owner, and you are changing your life, the lives of people around you, etc., 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 then it's even more important to plan for the future, not just the future of your business, but the future of when you're not there. Because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, ain't none of us immortal.
That's news to me.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not macabre to discuss what's going to happen when you're no longer here.
And that's why you need to think about then legacy planning, estate planning, and looking at, okay,
trust.
Because that's your exit.
Yeah.
Some people exit is sell, whether it's to their employees, team members, somebody else. And for others, it's pass it on to the next generation. So look at your overall estate, as in business, assets, wealth, and say, how am I going to pass this over, if you are, to your children? Do I give them some shares in the business? Do I give them growth shares and have freezer shares? Do I give them alphabet shares? Do I create a trust? Okay. Do I make them a shareholder? Shall I make them an employee? See how they fare, and if they're interested, pass it on. Do I use some of the wealth I have to give to them in a tax efficient way for them to start now investing in a business and get them involved even with the same business as you're doing? Okay, because you know about it and you can mentor them and guide them. And who can be a better mentor, in my view, as long as you've got the experience, than your parents?
Yeah,
they've got your best interest at heart.
They do, and off the back of that, one thing I would say is you do see it. You do see it, not so much these days, but you certainly used to see it a lot. Is parents become blinkered to their own business, and be aware of what your children enjoy doing, what their interests are, and be open, be honest, have that conversation with them, and then they'll be open and honest about having that conversation with you, because if they're a shareholder in the business, that's great. They've got, they can monitor the business from potentially afar. If it's not their bag, if they want to go into something else, they want to do something else. We're not all wired the same way, and understanding that just because you like, doing one thing, your children might like a completely different
Don't
thing.
push them to do what you want them to do that gives you happiness. Do what they want to do that gives them happiness, and support them.
Exactly. Because that's all you can do as a parent, is support them the best you can.
You don't want your children to be like you, and your children to be individuals and independent and be what they want to be. You'll influence that, because they spend so much time with you.
Yeah. As long as you instill one core thing into them, and that is whatever business they pursue, however they want to do it, learn marketing.
And do it good.
And learn to do it well.
Yeah. I don't know who was, someone just shared with me. I said the one thing that my dad used to always tell me is, be of use, be useful.
Yeah.
And I kept that with me, and I was trying to be as useful as I can. And you'll be surprised to hear, he's doing phenomenally well. Because he's of use, he's of value to others.
It's of value, yeah.
So you should teach them good value. So think about estate planning, trusts, other mechanisms, which we're not going to go into today. So how am I going to pass it on in an efficient way to get them involved, engaged, become independent, become interested, but also keep it tax efficient. And with that, of course, there's a whole concept that you and I agree with, is the more you give, the more you gain.
Yep.
Okay. And
karma exists.
Absolutely. And then you've got this concept of being socially responsible, giving to charity, being a philanthropist, and those things are extremely important.
Yeah, they are.
Not just from a feel-good factor, but also helping, engendering, cultivating, motivating, supporting other people around you.
Yeah, I mean, one of my mentors spent, I think it was 20 years just focusing on himself, sorting himself out, making sure that he was safe, his family was safe, all the rest of it. Now,
Charity begins at home.
Now he can afford to, he opens up his business to school children 4 times a year, once a quarter, to educate them in that business model and that business style and how they can do similar things. And he does that for free. He invites local schools, to come, and he will give, and he is the business owner. He gives the lecture, he gives the presentation. to help children out. But he can afford to do that now because he's
got that
in that position.
independence, and he's in that position because he's worked towards
And I mean,
it.
what a good feeling that must be. Aside
Phenomenal.
from everything else, you've got to put yourself in that position to be able to do that in the first place.
I mean, it is phenomenal, Kieran. When someone comes to you, I heard you talk, or your video, read your book, whatever information people are sharing, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. I did that thing, and
Changed my life.
Changed my life. Well, this is what I'm doing now. It's just I'm in a very different place, and of course they're being very generous with their feedback, because that one thing that we share with people isn't going to change their lives, but they see that as the pivotal moment that got them to think differently, and they give you the credit.
Well, do you know what that moment was for me? It was, and so I've had a lot of mentors over my life because I truly believe in mentorship.
You needed a lot of help. We know that, Kieran.
Yeah,
We've established that over the weeks
absolutely.
and months. Okay.
But it was 1 degree. Whether it's 1 degree better every day, whether it's 1 degree off course. Pick your 1 degree. Pick how you want to do it. You were the one that told me about 1 degree better every day, or half a degree.
No, I didn't. You're nearly there, but I'll come on to that after you finish.
Okay. But 1 degree off course. And this is how such a small impact can change your life. Is if you take a ship from Southampton to New York, and leaving Southampton, that ship is 1 degree off course, you end up in South America.
Oh, yes.
Because that 1 degree compounds over time.
Same applies when you're playing golf. You 1% in the wrong direction. By the time what was it? Time, distance, I think, and time traveled exploits or ends up determining the end place. I can't remember the exact wording. Okay.
I know.
But the longer it takes, and the more you're going, of course, the worse you're going to. The further you are, or the worse you're going to be from where you wanted to be.
Yeah. But if you're heading, say, heading in that direction, and it's not a direction you want to go in, but you pivot 1 degree, small change.
Of course, yeah.
Small change off of that course. By the time that compounds, you can have changed your life.
Yeah. And my friend Sanjay used to talk about, and you see, he used to run seminars as well, and he still does it. Can you improve by 10% a day?
Probably not.
No. 5%? Come to 3, 2, 1%. Some people put their hands up.
Yeah.
1%, quite a few people. How about 1/3%?
Yeah, I can improve 1/3.
I think everybody can. I think everybody can by doing a little bit, reading, assessing, talking, networking, consuming information, thinking as well, which is most important, as you know. And most people say yes. He said, well, if you improve by 1/3% every single day and do something to improve over the course of a year, you improve by 100%.
Yeah.
Before the year's over, by the way.
I mean, 120% technically.
No, before the year's over, okay? You've improved by 100%. And everybody can do 1/3%. And it's just, again, it's a mindset shift. Alongside that, I think it's important, Kieran, that people actually diversify their investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Always separate, always, And I mean, some of this does come down to your risk sensibility.
Personal attitude towards risk,
Personal attitude toward risk. But whatever your attitude towards risk, I mean, there are multiple forms of safe investments and multiple forms of high risk investments. So it doesn't all have to be high risk. It doesn't all have to be safe.
It's subjective to some extent on how you see things.
Yeah. But, you can have 3 different categories of safe investment. Safe, I say in inverted commas, investments. That's diversification.
Yeah.
Well done.
With that, sometimes I talk to people who may be in the unfortunate situation where one of their loved ones has passed away.
Yeah.
Could be a parent, for example, and they had debt and they had no life insurance to cover that debt. So I think it's a side note, but an important side note, to make sure if you have debt exposure, make sure you've got life insurance or something else to cover for that. Because the last thing you want to do is burden your family, okay, with not just your loss of you not being there, but then they've got all this debt to pay off.
Yeah.
And then they can't keep the asset that you created because they can't afford to repay the debt. and that leaves you in a worse situation. And I think sometimes life insurance is not always valued by people enough. And I know some people don't want life insurance, by the way, so it's a choice. But look at it as a mechanism, as a tool. If it works for you,
a tool for protection.
I always protect yourself. And I think it's extremely important. And then you are my favorite by far, Kieran, is creating multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams of income. Yeah. And I mean, this does tie a little bit in with entrepreneurship, but I mean, if you've got your day job, then you've got one stream of income. If the company you work for can't repay their debts because the owner passes away and they've not got a mechanism to protect their debts, that company closes. What are you going to do then?
I had a chap, and we talked about this earlier on the weekend course, got made redundant twice in a year. Both companies went kaput. Yeah. He's doing exceptionally well now, by the way, when he learned from that experience, okay? And he's also then investing in property and other things as well. But how unfortunate is that?
Yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to him. I'm glad to hear that he's doing well.
He's really well, yeah.
But I mean, in a previous role, I was put up for risk of redundancy 4 times in my tenure there. Okay, I survived all of them. I was
That's because you were good at selling.
Yeah, it was. That's no joke. But if you've only got that one stream of income, what happens if that stops?
What's the worst number in business? And you heard me say this before. You might not remember.
0.
No. 1.
1. Yeah.
Because having one source of income.
One source of income.
Okay. One big client. One important employee. One of anything. Okay. Okay. One idea. One form of marketing. Okay. Is a bad idea, and you're going to land yourself into one product, one service type of thing. Okay.
Yep.
You're going to get in trouble. So, and the people who become wealthy, you and I talked about this before, about wealth and success leaves clues.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Look at the successful people. They usually have more than one source of income. So create that other source of income. Okay.
I'm trying to think of anyone that's super successful, publicly successful, that has one stream of income, and no one comes to mind.
Well, some people may think that person there, okay, has one source of income, and that's all we see, because their father passed down the estate, be it a hotel or some other form of business, okay? But you know what? When you look into them,
guarantee they've got more than one form of income.
They've got other businesses going on. They're very smart, and they're not sometimes as foolish as they may appear on social media or elsewhere, because that's just a persona. But when you've got the second income or an additional income, Kieran, let's say you're earning 50 grand a year, and it might be 30 grand a year, okay? Yeah. That just about helps you keep your head above water. The second one, okay, is getting the extra income and it's building up, and that's where you're saving. Initially, you might be using some of that to bridge the gap or for your personal disposable income, but after a while, okay, you've got more coming in. Then when that comes in, you invest that into capital appreciating assets and income generating assets.
Yeah.
So over a period of time, 5, 10, 15 years, in a very different place. These things don't happen overnight. And
no, they don't.
And I don't make a secret of it.
That's something that we haven't quite covered yet, but I absolutely think we should, is regardless of what your legacy planning is, how you want to do intergenerational wealth, how you want to make wealth to create intergenerational wealth in the first place, is understand it is going to take time.
Get rich quick schemes usually end up in tears.
It does not happen. It does not happen. I get it.
25-year overnight success.
Yeah, I get it. Nobody wants to get rich slow. But I can show you the principles and the process to get rich slow. And I can almost guarantee it will work every time.
As long as you commit to it.
As long as you commit to it. So getting rich quick, I don't know a single one that works. Just saying.
There you go. And obviously creating those streams of income are important, be it investing, be it writing a book and selling it, be it creating a seminar, a webinar, and selling it, advice, information, physical products, physical business, being a JV partner, being a silent investor. There's so many different options one has, Okay, even if it's art,
Especially,
craft, like making something. There's so many things depending on your passion you can do, and then sell it online. Selling on Amazon and eBay, those is a thing, as you know, Kieran. Some people doing it really well.
Some people do really, really well
So
at that.
you can do that. Shopify, so on and so forth. We don't
And
need
I
to
mean,
promote a particular type, but these are just examples.
But I've seen and I know of people that make money doing surveys. Yeah, you spend an hour at night doing surveys. That's another stream of income. They're paying you for your time. Yeah, so ultimately the answer is get creative. But there's loads of information out there on how you can do it. We're not just saying you need to get a second job. That's not what we're saying. I'm not saying finish work at 5:30 Monday to Friday and then get a weekend job. That's not what we're saying.
That's not it.
What we're saying is look at your options, look at what your
Creating
time is
financial
free,
independence.
and create yourself financial independence by setting up a shop, doing a YouTube channel, TikTok, whatever. But there are plenty of options out there, especially in this modern world, and you don't have to be limited to a job. That's I think a point to make.
It depends how serious you are. I mean, a friend of mine, Chris, who's a speaker on the circuit, once shared a story with me, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but I'll share the essence with you. He said he had a friend, colleague, somebody who he's mentoring, and she wanted to get better at comedy. And you know what she did to get better?
Watch other comedians.
What she did was booked a room, sold tickets to people, and maybe gave some tickets to people, okay? A theatre room, and got 50, 100, whatever people there, and then said, I've got 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever now, to get better at this and do my thing, my gig. What a wonderful way. That takes courage. But she
Thrives under pressure.
She looked at things differently, didn't she?
Yeah.
What most people do, okay, let me get a coach, let me read some books. And she would have done all that in between, by the way. But she thought, let's let the rubber meet the road.
Yeah.
Because she was serious about it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the other things, isn't it? Just get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And pay yourself first. I think it's an important concept because most entrepreneurs, business owners work extremely hard, especially the small business owners.
Yeah.
And
it's not selfish to pay yourself first.
No.
It is not.
It's
selfish.
smart to pay yourself first, because if you don't value yourself, nobody else is going to value you. And once you pay yourself first, then you think, now I need to earn extra income to pay for my team members, employees, overheads, rent, rates, so on and so forth. Okay,
Yeah.
But if you're always subsidizing yourself and saying, I'll pay myself later, then you haven't got that extra reason and drive, okay, to get the extra income to make sure everybody else gets paid too.
Yeah.
And so many people underpay themselves because I'll pay myself next month. I'm a bit short. There's only £600 in the bank. I'll take 400 or whatever. Whatever the number might be, it matters
No,
not.
set yourself a number, pay yourself first, and make sure you get your dues.
And you do it, which is exceptionally important. Then give gifts to your children and loved ones as you go along, because there are certain tax benefits in doing that, and get them involved. And then if debt is a problem for people and you're comfortable with it, pay off your debt. I think that's important, because I think a really important thing, by the way, on all this, Kieran, is that 70% of families lose their wealth after passing it to the next generation. 90% lose it in the third generation.
And a lot of that is down to education.
Because they don't know how to handle it, look after it, and the
I
tendencies, let's spend it.
I don't want my kids to have the hard life I had, so I'm just going to let them do what they want, and I'm not going to educate them.
And you are where you are because part of your
Education.
nurture, nature, upbringing, but education.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Wealth Made Simple. You can follow and contact Shaz on the Facebook pages Entrust Property Tax and The Profits Wizard. You can also find Shaz on LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram. Alternatively, email him at shaz@aa-accountants.co.uk. Build your wealth by mastering money.